So after a nail-biter against Houston and now taking on a much better opponent in Tulane today, we have to sit down and talk about Oklahoma. We have to ask and answer the question, should OU fans be concerned? And I'm going to give my take on why this is a really interesting answer. And the answer depends. Before we can jump into all of this, y'all know the drill. I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Y for yes, N for no. Do you believe OU should be concerned? And secondly, do you believe they have a bounce back game against Tulane? Can't wait to hear from you. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. But having said all of that, let's jump right into this. And I want to go ahead and peel the Band-Aid off. I want to start with the first question I posed. Should OU be concerned? And my answer is it depends. And I know that might sound like a little bit of a cop-out, but let me explain. This is a nuanced conversation. Whenever we're talking about Oklahoma, my answer depends on how healthy are you and how quickly can you get healthy. Because right now, it's hard for me to judge Oklahoma's offense whenever you already had to replace the entirety of your offensive line. You have a brand new offensive coordinator. You have a brand new quarterback. And that offensive line has been banged up every single game of the season. And I don't think we've seen the settled offensive line yet. In fact, I know we haven't. So I can't pass judgment on Oklahoma just yet whenever we haven't even seen what the Sooners are really going to look like whenever they're at full strength because of injury. It was already going to be a year where it was going to take the offensive line a few weeks to gel together. That's natural. It was already going to be a year where you had a young quarterback who was growing in a new offensive system. All good and fair. But it's hard for me to say, should Oklahoma hit the panic button right now when I don't even know I know who Oklahoma is offensively? I think that's a bigger question. And I think in fairness to Oklahoma, I can't even press you for the answer to that question whenever you've had so many guys injured. Now, I understand that's football. The best ability is availability. And unfortunately, in college football, that's part of the game. Guys get hurt. That is absolutely part of the game. Bear Bryant once said that a part of winning a national championship was being lucky enough to be healthy. And he's 100% right. 100% right. But this weekend, you take on an opponent that's better than Temple, that's better than Houston and Tulane. And Tulane has been a good football team for a few years, just played Kansas State real close, and many Tulane fans feel like they should have walked out of that game with a W. So they're going to look at Oklahoma and say, okay, time to get the get back. Tulane wants to send a message. Now, Oklahoma defensively has looked really good. Now, once again, this is the best team you will have played thus far, but in the front, I think Oklahoma's defensive front is looking solid. Linebacker play has been sublime. Linebacker play for OU has been everything and more. Danny Stutzman is playing like a man possessed. Coming back, I think, should he remain healthy, and let's hope he does, his draft stock is going to skyrocket from this. I mean, he is playing a special brand of football right now. It's really enjoyable to watch. So Oklahoma's defense has been keeping up their end of the bargain. We're going to see how improved they are as they start taking on better teams. Tulane, then Tennessee, and Tennessee is no slouch in that veer and shoot offense with Nico at the helm. It's a tough offense to guard. But luckily, the strength of OU right now is their defense. So that's going to be an amazing game, strength on strength. So should Oklahoma hit the panic button? It depends. How healthy are you? And how quickly are you going to be able to get healthy? And let's talk about that one. Because we've talked about the offensive line needing time to gel. The whole offense and team needs time to gel as a cohesive unit. It's one thing to do it in practice, but you largely have an expectation as to what's coming in practice. Whenever you get on a game field, everything changes. That's when things are different. So getting guys healthy as soon as possible to be able to get them out there on the field and to have your entire offense start coming together, that's incredibly important as well. That is incredibly important as well. So it's tough for me to say the state of Oklahoma right now because I think that the bigger question, and a question that can't even be answered just yet because of all the injuries, is what is the identity of the Oklahoma offense? What are they going to be? And I know it's one thing to say, oh, Luttrell likes to do this. A lot of offensive coordinators like to do something, then they look at their personnel and they adapt to their personnel. And Oklahoma has talented pieces. That's not my question here. My question is not the talent. It's how quickly can you get healthy and how healthy are you? That's what this depends on. Now, Tulane does give them an interesting opportunity because as we talked about, Tulane's a good team. Tulane just played Kansas State very close. Tulane's going to want to get this game as a W in their book. And you can say that about every game, but especially after the way the last one ended, they know they can play with these Power 4 opponents. It's up to Oklahoma to show them, hey, we're not Kansas State. So this is going to be an interesting game. Whenever I look at this, I want to see more fluidity from Oklahoma's offense. I don't have much to give you about Oklahoma's defense. I think they're going to continue holding up their end of the bargain. They have been playing really good. I think you're going to continue to see evolution from certain pieces of that defense. I'd like to see continued evolution from the edge position, but linebacker play has been phenomenal. Love watching Stutz go out there and ball. I mean, it really is a ton of fun. Defensive secondary, you gave up a touchdown last week because they pushed tempo. Alignment didn't happen. That's something that's got to get cleaned up because Tennessee is going to push tempo at a rate that Houston couldn't dream of. But it's an explainable error. One that you need to get fixed, but an explainable error nonetheless. So Oklahoma's offense, though, I want to see more fluidity. And I know there are going to be people sitting there saying, oh, fluidity from Jackson Arnold? Yes, but fluidity from a play-calling perspective. I think that's the biggest thing they can do to help out the young quarterback. Let's get this defense spread out a little bit. Let's get this defense not knowing whether we're going deep, intermediate, short. Let's get the short passing game going first. Let's get the run established first. But there are ways to help out your young quarterback. Right now, Jackson Arnold hasn't put up terrible stats, but it hasn't been the start that so many people had hoped for. And listen, we are splitting hairs here because you've won 2 games. That's not my contention. But you need to be able to hit some of these throws that you haven't been able to do so. And in order to get that, in my opinion, Seth Luttrell needs to help out his young quarterback a bit more. And this is a great opportunity for him to do that. In fact, it's the last opportunity to really iron some things out before you take on Tennessee. And Tennessee is a team that's got the talent. OU hasn't seen a team, and as good as Tulane is, they haven't seen a team even after Tulane that scratches the surface of the talent that Tennessee has, especially at the quarterback position. And especially with the scheme they're running. That's going to be very high tempo, that's not going to let your defense get their plays in. And if your offense can't put sustained drives, your defense is going to be on the field forever. That's when it becomes even more important for the offense to iron out some of these wrinkles this week. Not every play has to be a home run. But I want to see Oklahoma establish drives down the field in the short passing game because Deion Burks is a monster in the short passing game. Get him the ball in space, allow your guys to get out there and block, and let him work. I actually think that's where he's at his best, is short to intermediate. I think that's where he's at his best. That's not to say that he's not a deep threat. He absolutely is. He absolutely is. That's not my contention. My contention is that a defense will pay for giving him an inch in the short and intermediate game because of his yards after catch ability. But the most important thing for Oklahoma right now is to establish a baseline of success on offense, especially this weekend against a good opponent in Tulane before you take on Tennessee, because Tennessee presents issues for a lot of teams out there because styles make fights. And their style is very difficult to account for, especially if they have a guy at the helm who's running it well. And defensively, they've got pieces on that defense too now. you better hope your offensive line is situated, because Pierce is exponentially better than any defensive lineman edge rusher that Oklahoma has seen this year by a wide margin. A wide margin. So you better get your offensive line in check before you take him on. But it all boils down to the question, how healthy are you? And what do you look like when you're fully healthy? There's a reason why you haven't seen me hop on a video and say, oh, you know what? It's over for OU this season. I can't say that because I don't know who OU is offensively yet. I think the defense is a much improved unit. I really enjoy watching them play. I don't know who OU's offense is yet. But it's time we start figuring it out, and this is a great weekend to do so. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you think. What do you think about this matchup? And do you think that we start to see the offense get ironed out this weekend? That's it.